Story now. President Cyril Ramaphosa has decided to skip his trip to the United Nations. The country has been struggling with acts of violence directed at foreign-owned businesses and the scourge of femicide. Well, this has prompted the president to miss the trip to New York at the end of the month in order to attend to these pressing issues. Sibongile Besani is the head of the president's office at Luthuli House. That's the party's headquarters, and he joins me in studio. Mr. Besani, thank you very much for your time. Some will say, having observed what happened last week, is the president perhaps making up for last week's blunders?
No, thank you very much, and thanks for having me. It's not about making up, it's about providing leadership. Actually, the cancellation of the trips, for instance, the United Nations General Assembly coincided with a program of the ANC subcommittee of archives, where the president was supposed to address the Congress Black Caucus, in Washington, D.C. And in the light of these events and these sad stories in the country, where the country is in the grip of fear, we're in the worst corner as a society, the president had to also demonstrate his leadership. And in the context of these challenges, he took a decision that he will not take overseas trip. He would be with his people here. And this has also been supported by the African National Congress, especially thus developing a program of officials to go through to talk to South Africans throughout the country.
And I think as ordinary South Africans listening to you right now and this dramatic decision taken by the president, I can only be too happy as an ordinary South African to hear that the president is prioritizing me and my needs as a South African. But politically, will this not come back to bite him, particularly if he's going to even miss the burial of the former president of Zimbabwe?
No, what is important, it can't come to bite him. In fact, he will go into Zimbabwe and come back.
So he will attend the funeral?
Yeah, he will attend the funeral. But what is important is the trip, which are very important. There are also very important trips that I've spoken about. The one with the subcommittee in Washington, D.C., and the one of UNGA. So what is important is it's not about coming back to bite, the president. What is critical is that here we see a leader of the ANC, a leader of South African, empathizing with his own people. I mean, Vuyo, right now in Sandton, I'm sorry, Chloe, you were talking to Vuyo, I think.
Indeed.
Yeah. Right now in Sandton, people are saying it can't be business as usual. And if you find the leader of the ANC, the leader of the country, rooted, responding positively to that call because of these social ills of murderers who rape our daughters, sisters, mothers, aunts, and so on, it's quite critical.
And I'm glad you mentioned the march happening in Sandton, because the activists there are saying this government and others before it, it is guilty of being tolerant of the criminal behavior of these perpetrators of these crimes. And in fact, they go as far as to say it even justifies the actions of the perpetrators. I mean, how would the office of the president respond to this kind of message?
Look, I think the president has spoken to the nation, and he has demonstrated that much has got to be done. Of course, the ANC-led government does accept the limitations and shortcomings. We are not tolerant of all these mishaps, but it means there were gaps that have been experienced. But the statement of the president is quite clear on the measures that has to be taken. So that is why in his when he addressed the nation the other day, he talked about the need to ensure that Parliament discuss some of the emergency measures.
Mr. Besani, I need to wrap you, but the scenes that unfolded this morning in Sandton, the ANC Women's League president being chased away by activists who say they've been standing not in solidarity with the women of this country, but instead prioritizing politics. That surely has to be a blemish on this party.
Well, it is unfortunate indeed, but we want to assure South Africans that as the African National Congress, we remain a caring organization, and where there have been shortcomings. The Women's League in particular has been throughout the country, ensuring that it advocates for protection of women and ensuring that all acts of that undermine gender struggles.
Well, Kwezi, they're shouting the name Kwezi, and they're saying the ruling party was not particularly supportive when that lady accused the former president of raping her.
Well, I don't want to speak on behalf of the Women's League, but the fact is the Women's League has actually upped the ante in ensuring that gender struggles, protection of women, children, and all, actions against men who abuse women, actions are being taken. So, quite frankly speaking, while we recognize there may have been shortcomings, but the Women's League has actually upped the ante in advocating for gender struggles.
Sibongile Pesane, thank you very much, sir, for joining us.